Hi, it's the Qualan and Namoya. We're Build a Sister Up, and we are happy that you all have joined us. It is Thursday. Qualana said earlier it was February. What did you say? It was
Friday the 13th.
She almost had me going there. I was like, wait, but it's actually Thursday. It's actually Thursday. But anyway, we're going to get into our 10-minute topic. I guess it's a little dark. I don't know why. But anyway, we're going to get into our 10-minute topic. Happy you all
look good.
You look good.
Yeah, the light looks good. Y'all look good.
Yeah. Okay. The 10-minute topic of tonight is, should parents be held liable if their kids do something wrong? And I guess I'll go first. That's a sticky one. That's
sticky.
Because as I think about it, you raise your child a certain way, you know what I mean? And as they get older, the question.
Let it out.
Does it depend their age?
No.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
Okay. Well, no. Okay. If the child is 6 and under, there's 3 parts to the question. So if the child is 6 and under, the child is 6 to 12, well, 7 to 12. And then if the child is 12 to 17, 13 to 17.
So any child under 17.
At different stages, it's 3 different parts. So at 3 different stages, should the parents be held liable? Or is the child purely culpable on its own? Her own?
I think both. I'm gonna go with both. Carlita, you just make your background black. I'm gonna go with both. I think that the child should be held liable, and I think that the parent should as well if the child is a minor, because the child is under the parent's care, and it depends on the extent of what the child has done. Like if the child has done something very heinous, then yes, I do believe that child should be held liable. But at the same time, why was that child in that situation to be able to do that? You know what I mean? So if a child does something very horrible, why were they even given the tools or the mindset to do it? But sometimes you never know. The society gets into these child's heads, peer pressure gets into these children's heads, and you could have a good upbringing or a good parental environment, but then when that environment or their peers gets into the child's head, it's just sometimes hard to deal with children bouncing back from that. So I'm gonna say both. I think the child and the parent should be held liable.
Okay. Speaking as a non-parent, I'm not a parent yet, but I say that each person, yes, when they're born, they are culpable of, their actions. Even a baby, like a 3-month-old baby, if it accidentally scratches you, then they shouldn't be held liable, but they did do it. They did scratch you. So you as the parent, I guess you have to put mitts on the baby or whatever protective gloves on the baby so they won't scratch you or themselves, because they can risk also hurting themselves if they scratch, But that sets up the point of saying, if you see certain patterns in your child as a baby, then as a toddler, then as a pre-K, and then as a child, and then as an adolescent, teenager, you see these actions and you do nothing about it, then yes, you are definitely, acting and enabling certain behaviors and letting it just go without doing anything. So yes, you should be held liable. But someone, even if the child is not going to be, like if there's a crime that's committed by the child, even if the child is not going to be committed or prosecuted or anything because of, the lack of culpability of, a minor, then I think the parents should be held liable, because somebody somewhere is a victim. If there's a victim in a certain situation, somebody should have to pay for that, and who else better to pay than the parent? And I do know that, yes, kids get out of hand, especially 15, 16, 17. They're just really sometimes just out of hand and the parent can't do anything. But there should be something set in place where someone is held to a standard, held accountable. So at 16, 17, yeah, the child can be held accountable, but should the parents still be held accountable? Yes, at that point, because that child is not going to be able to maybe pay retribution to a victim. Maybe the parent will be able to, but to a certain extent, the parent even should be held liable at all
Before,
stages.
before you go, Carlita, I just want to read some of the comments. Ernest
Yeah.
said it starts at home, and I stand with a biblical way. We are responsible up to a certain age. But if your kid shooting in elementary, it's all parents there. Veronica said, I agree. The child and parent should be held responsible in some circumstances. If a child harms someone with your weapon or destroys someone's property, the parent should be held accountable.
Yeah. If there's a victim, someone should be held accountable.
Mm-hmm. What do you think, Carlita?
I agree. I mean, parents should be held liable. I'm trying to think to what age.
I think at
21,
like
18.
Well,
up
18, you're
until
an adult.
18,
18, you're an adult.
you're gonna the parent
That's
probably
all
won't
you-
be held liable.
Not at
But
18.
I mean, the parents will be frowned upon. You know what I mean? Sometimes parents are still frowned upon if their child commits a heinous
Prior
act.
to this day.
Right.
Yeah, because then
Well,
they start. Mhm.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, because then people start thinking, how was that child's upbringing? How did that child, how was that child raised? And the child can be raised, and this may be subjective, but the child could be raised in a very good, household.
Well, I think if the parents, and I'm not saying all parents don't pay attention to their kids, but I think that everybody should pay more attention to everybody, especially if you have kids. I did say it. I said it when I was saying it. But only because a lot of things that I'm seeing that's happening now, I don't know what's going on, but I feel that if we know, like, I'm just talking about myself. When we were younger, we had to come in the house at a certain time. I think it was even before the street lights. Forget that. We was in the house at what? Probably
4.
6 o'clock. 4.
If
Okay.
we could go out.
Right. We were in the house at 4 o'clock. We were washing dishes, watching the Cosby Show.
And this was in the summertime.
Yeah, and it was in the summer. We had to do things at home. And then on top of that, when we would go out with our friends, we could only go out with our friends in our yard. And it was in the backyard. And you had to be in so they can actually see you. So what I mean by I know kids get 16, 17 or 18 or whatever. I feel that parents should go back to dropping their kids off at a certain time. If they're 17, I know some people say, no, 17, I'm not doing it. But I think at 17, even though I was driving a little bit, I still had to be monitored. My mother still monitored me. And at 17, you should still know where your child is. And to me, it shouldn't be, and that's just me, it's what I think. You shouldn't allow your child just to go wherever they want to. It shouldn't be that. But that starts when they're little. I think you can't start that when they're 13 and you try and tell them that, because you've already allowed them to do so much stuff. So if you start them when they're young, like when we were little, like 2, 3, 4, whatever, 5, 6, even 7, we already knew we couldn't go spend a night at our friend's house. We couldn't go, if it was a birthday party, we could only stay for an hour or 2. But to me, if you monitor them like that, I think that would cut down on a lot of stuff. I mean, that's just me. A lot of people say, no, they 15, they can go do whatever they want to. But I see a lot of kids around that age, they are doing a lot of stuff, what they want to. But if they just go back to that, you're 15, you're 16, you're 17, stay in the back of the house so I can see you. And then, of course, 13, 14, 10, whatever, come in the house at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning.
No.
And you might feel, well, all they gonna do is watch TV. No, make them cut the TV off. Make them sit there and read a book. Make them have them so they're in your eye contact so you can actually interact with the child instead of just, okay, I'm going upstairs to watch TV or get on my phone to do whatever I want to. And that child can be downstairs and do whatever they want to. No, have them in your face. Now, I'm not saying that when they go in their room, they can't go ahead and they can't look at something, but you've made sure, at least for the first 5, 6 hours, that you were doing something interactive with that child. You were talking with their child, and you wasn't just allowing them to do whatever they want to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we definitely got this topic from the 6-year-old who shot his teacher and his mother being charged with child endangerment. And just like Ernest said, if there is access to guns, and that child had access to guns, and yeah, the mother should be held liable. But generally speaking, there's a lot of access to guns here in the US, period. So if parents are allowing access to guns to kids that are 6 years old, or if a parent does that, then yes, definitely they should be held liable, because why is the gun that out in the open?
Yeah.
I mean, that's a basic question, but rhetorical, of course. But it's dangerous to everyone in the house, especially a child who doesn't know the full dangers, the full scope of the actions that he's about to undertake or she's about to undertake. So it's up to that parent to instill knowledge, not about guns, because I mean, why are you going to teach a child about gun? You need to tell a child maybe to stay away from a gun, or don't use weapons, or don't even let the child know there's a weapon in the house. Just put it away. However, gun safety ownership control is done for a child, that wasn't done in this place, So yes, that mother should be held liable.
And that goes back to, like I was saying, when we were younger, you had to stay in the house. Come in the house and sit your behind down. Go clean the dishes. Go mop the floor. Do something constructive, because as you get older, you're going to need those skills. And I think a lot of kids now, a lot of those skills aren't instilled in them because I don't know where the parents at.
Bring back more parent involvement. Ernest said, to be honest, when parents know their kids doing the most and don't act on the times they need to, it brings the percentage down. And that is true. He said, Qualitha, I agree with you, and Qualana, facts. So yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
I mean, if you're going to have weapons in your house, and I totally understand having weapons in your house to protect your home. And if you have kids, you got to put the parental safety controls in there. And if you don't, that's on you and the people who want to come after you.
That's true. All right. This one was a very interesting topic. I mean, basically, yeah, we do need more parent involvement in these kids' lives to, like we said, bring the percentage down of different things happening with these kids. The kids are our future. Whitney Houston sang it best. But thank you, everyone who's tuned in, who's watching, who's commented. As always, we appreciate you coming in and listening to us and giving some feedback. If you
No, wait a minute. Where's that dog? I thought I saw a dog.
And are we putting up the next topic for Tuesday now?
Yes, we did say that.
Okay.
You said
what? I think you had a topic.
I think it was. Let me look at it. On Tuesday, you can come back with us. And Tuesday, we will be talking about As Qualitha Gets the Dog.
Bam, bam.
What's your favorite breed of dog? No, I don't know. Bam, bam. Bam, bam.
If a man can talk to you on any type of social media platform, as far as dating or relationship trust, and believe you not the only one he is chatting with.
Who said that?
Oh yeah, I saw that on the post. What was that question again? I forget.
If a man can talk to you on any type of social media platform, as far as dating or relationships, trust and believe you're not the only one he's talking to. So I guess that's saying if a man is talking to you on social media platforms, do you think that you are the only one that he is talking to?
That's a good question because I date on.
That's gonna be Tuesday.
Oh, okay. I was about to go into it, but that's Tuesday. So Thursday, I saw in the group they were discussing. I think maybe
He licked my chin.
Veronica posted it, huh? What'd you
He
say?
licked her
He
chin.
licked my
Oh,
chin.
He got a quick look.
I think a group member Veronica maybe have posted it, but when two people get together and one has a child by someone else and they marry one another and then adopt one of the other's kids, and then that person wants to file for divorce, should that person still be held liable for child support for the child that they adopted? That's Thursday.
What's that? That's a good one.
There's a celebrity that is getting a divorce from her partner. So her her partner actually adopted her child. That's fathered by someone else. So that child is that person's legal child now. So that the adoptive father, is going to be held liable for child support. So the question is, should that person be held liable for that child support, even though they're not the biological dad, but they adopted that child?
I remember that one. C.O. Cans, before we leave on this one, C.O. Cans said the parents aren't like the parents from the past. A tree grows from the root.
That's true.
And what happened? That's
when did it happen? I hear somebody in the background saying social media.
Is that what it was? What is you shaking like that? You saw him shake like scared out of it. But that's the truth. It's like what actually happened? What really happened? Because my grandmother didn't play all this stuff. That's going on.
People when we were growing up, if we were outside playing. We didn't have too much technology then. We were outside.
Well, I mean, okay, so I don't know who raised two. So the baby boomers, did they raise the Generation Xers, or is there a generation in between there?
The Generation X, then the millennials.
So it's baby boomer, Generation X.
So is it Generation? I think it would be the millennials. Well, I'm a millennial and I have a Generation Z. So, but my Generation Z so far is a good, I think Generation Z is probably okay. It's a very smart generation. I know that.
Well, I'm going to have a Generation Alpha, I believe. I'm not going to have a Generation Z because isn't it cut off now?
Yeah, it's Alpha.
Okay, so I don't know. They're like babies now, Generation Alphas. So we don't know what they're going to be looking like in the future, but I say all of this to say within the past, maybe, 50-ish or 60-ish years, things did change and we did get more technology. So lots of things were happening in the past. All the way back to slavery days. But we do have more instant access to more violent information.
Yeah.
So it's being disseminated much faster, but did it really change? Yeah, I think the way of parenting did change. And maybe it shifted in between baby boomers and Generation X.
And a little bit of millennials too, I would say.
Okay.
A little bit. But yeah, I think it probably started with the baby boomers. It was all that 70s music.
Well, maybe they need to bring some of that 70s music back. And I can't even say it's the music. People used to say it's the music that's causing this. I don't even know.
That's when the drugs started.
So the music and the drugs, the music was great in the 70s, and then the crack era hit in the 80s. And then the 90s, I feel like the 90s were about empowerment.
Yeah, the 90s was so far the best.
But there was a lot of gang violence in the 90s too.
True.
So, and gun violence in the, 21st century
Mhm.
now. So there's more, there's more weapons out there.
Well, now we
There's
got
more-
everything in this
Right.
generation. Got
Stop.
gun violence, we got drugs, opioids, all these other
Yeah.
things.
There's more devices, yes, bad
Yeah.
devices.
But I
Vices,
think it starts with
men vices.
people need to go back to people. I think to end a lot of this, actually, I think people need to go back to the family, talking with one another,
Yeah.
going out with one another, coming in the house together at a certain time, making sure that everybody's in the house, making sure that everybody has a home cooked meal that's in the house, or getting in the kitchen cooking together, or talking with each other. 9 o'clock, everybody sleep at a certain time unless you got to go to work or whatever. Everybody sleep at a certain time. I mean, I'm pretty sure it was like that back in the day, and maybe it needs to go back to that. I know a lot of people say that sounds boring, but it might end a lot of this stuff that's going on now. Or from 7 to 8, everybody has to read a book.
I mean, I think
as
the
a family.
basics. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think the basics were a key to less violence, and that's the basic family
Right.
structure. That's just doing the basic things and not having access to all of this other technology that allows us to just do way more things instantly with the push of a button.
Yeah.
Right.
People lost patience and everything. They just wanted fast. Like,
Instant gratification. And yeah,
Exactly.
when we don't get instant gratification, sometimes it does make us angry and makes us act out. But the
Yeah.
pressures of life.
Yeah.
That's why communicating and talking and learning how to listen to each other is so important. But it's hard to listen to people if people are not talking.
Those powerful words.
I think
You did quote it.
that is true. I think if you make it a habit, do it every day, ask your children what's going on with your day, eventually they're gonna talk. So I think if you make it a habit to just continue that, continue that, and build up that relationship, eventually
Right.
they will talk.
Right.
And
Eventually.
then you don't even have to start asking them what happened. Sometimes they'll run off in their own mouth, like, guess what happened to me today, mom? Or guess what happened to me today, dad? You know what I mean? Because it's so habitual to them that they just want to come out and say what's going on with them.
Yeah.
And although I said it starts when you're little, but I'm not saying that if they're 13, 14, 15, 16, you could just forget it. I'm not going to say that. But if you know better, what do they say? You do better. So
Right.
if it's 16 or 15 or 14 or whatever the age, you can start that. You can start saying,
It's never
hey,
too late to start.
right, let me start taking you where you're going, or let me find out who you're hanging out with, or why don't you bring you and your friends come over to this house? That way, and that's what I always did with my daughter. I always made sure she came over here, brought her friends over here, because I wanted to see. I wanted to see what friends she was keeping. And when I felt comfortable, she went ahead, but I had to see. So I never had a problem with having the sleepovers at my house and having everybody over here, because I wanted to see. And that's important to me, instead of, oh, my child 10, I don't know, he's supposed to be back at 7. I mean, where is he at? I don't know. I mean, stuff like that. To me, you should know.
Yeah. All right. Thank you for everyone who's tuned in, who's watching. Again, we have our topics for Tuesday and Thursday. Veronica, we are going to use one of your topics that you threw in the group. We appreciate that. And Veronica says she'll be back on Tuesday and Thursday to listen to our live, and we definitely appreciate that. As always, remember to build bold, build better, build brilliant, build a brother up, build a sister up.
Bye.